Hey, I'm Blair Best. It's Monday here on The Story, and tonight, it's been 5 years since wildfires tore through the Santiam Canyon, nearly destroying entire towns. We're taking a look at the long road to rebuilding. Plus, someone spray painted these messages targeted at Portland's mayor on the side of the city's latest homeless shelter that's set to open tomorrow. By those who oppose the site say they're not surprised. But first, we're heading to Salem, where the Democrats' bill to fund the Oregon Department of Transportation just passed the House, with one Democrat voting against it and one Republican voting for it. It's our big story tonight. Oregon lawmakers are moving forward with a transportation funding package after a rocky start to the governor's special session. The House voted to pass a slimmed-down version of the bill today. It would save hundreds of ODOT jobs and pay for road repair, but raise taxes on Oregonians. Evan Watson joins me now from Salem. Evan, talk to us. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, Blair, as you mentioned, the House passed it, so the bill now sits with the Senate. The Senate met for only about less than 30 minutes today before deferring to tomorrow, where they're going to start discussions and everything else on this. And the expectation I'm hearing from here in the Capitol is that the Senate plans to vote on this on Wednesday. Democrats hoping to pass it through to the governor, Republicans maybe hoping to stop that.
Now, this bill narrowly passed in the House today, and it wasn't just on party lines. One Democrat representative, Vanessa Hartman, voted no, and Evan, one Republican voted yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's Republican Representative Cyrus Javity. He represents a district along the northern Oregon coast, and he's become known recently for being willing to kind of make up his own mind about issues and split with his party along certain votes. So here he was today explaining his decision to be the lone Republican voting in favor of this in the House and therefore sending it on through to the Senate.
Oregonians measure trust by seeing projects completed, roads cleared, and less traffic jams. And the cost of doing nothing is far greater than the cost of doing something. Colleagues, this isn't just about 6 cents. This is about whether Oregon stays connected or whether we let the arteries of our state slowly collapse. I believe we must choose connection. I believe we must choose responsibility, and so I'll vote yes. We can pay a little more now at the pump, or we can pay a lot later in lives, wages, and lost opportunities.
Evan, I bet the Republican leadership wasn't too happy to hear that.
Yeah, you're right about that. I spoke with Representative Christine Drazen, who did tell me that she was disappointed with Javity's vote, but recognized that each representative has to vote in the way that they believe best represents their district. However, Drazen also did tell me that she plans to refer any tax increase that comes out of this, if it does pass in the Senate, to a public vote across the state of Oregon to see if voters would also agree with these tax hikes.
If the Senate doesn't listen to Oregonians and they are going to ignore this entire thing, it is absolutely essential that the tax features of this measure make it in front of Oregonians themselves. They should decide at this point.
So, Evan, what changed in the bill over the weekend, and how are Democrats backing up a 6-cent gas tax increase and major hikes for title and registration fees?
Yeah, over the weekend, lawmakers agreed to make a increase to the payroll tax temporary, sunsetting it after 2 years instead of going for the full 10 that Governor Kotek initially proposed. They also slashed some funding for public transit as well. So what is now a $4.3 billion package used to be $5.8 billion over a 10-year span in Governor Kotek's original proposal. And if you remember back a few months to the full session, we were talking well over $10 billion. So it has been slimmed down, the tax increases, the money raised over the time. And here's Paul Evans, a Democratic representative, breaking down why he supports this measure as it stands.
I'm a yes, not because I love the bill, but because I recognize it's something that must be done. I'm a yes because I want friends and family in rural and urban areas and all of Oregon to be able to travel this winter. I'm a yes because when presented with a problem like this, leadership demands standing up and actually fixing the problem.
Okay, Evan Watson in Salem tonight. Evan, thank you. Okay, like Evan mentioned, one Democrat voted against the package. That was Representative Vanessa Hartman. She represents Gladstone, Oregon City, and other parts of North Clackamas County, a district at the epicenter of the battle over tolling. She says that influenced her vote.
I think we are coming fresh off of the tolling conversation where there was genuine fear about how am I supposed to get to work or to school without having to pay this increased toll. And so it's still an open wound that is healing. And then I think if it's or your business owners or elected officials, it sort of came off as just the mismanagement of funds. Why is the answer always that we need to give more money rather than saying, okay, where are we spending that money and are we doing it efficiently?
Well, now let's get to some of your thoughts on a story we brought you Friday. You all had a lot to say about a homeless camp outside a business in Portland's Central East Side. The manager of Contract Furnishings Mart, a cabinet store that's been in Portland since the 80s, pays more than $2,300 a year for 6 street parking permits for his employees. And the price just went up. But some of those spots are now taken up by a homeless camp. We talked with a woman who camped there named Elizabeth, who didn't really seem to care about taking up those parking spaces.
As people on the streets, we have different mindset. We just want to get our drugs and I guess spend time with each other.
The camp is right across from Multnomah County's Drug Deflection Center, a place Elizabeth, who's addicted to fentanyl, says she's not interested in going to.
Why would I want to become part of normal society so I can complete counseling and treatment just to, be in a cell of life?
Now, you all had some strong feelings about that, and you spent the weekend filling up our inbox. Robert said, if the intent of your recent segment on how Elizabeth's drug addiction and cavalier attitude is impacting Central East Side businesses was to incite outrage and frustration among law-abiding citizens and taxpayers, then congratulations, mission accomplished. Nothing better illustrates the complete ineffectiveness of our current government leaders in addressing the homeless and drug addiction problems and the lack of respect shown for our local businesses and hardworking residents. Now, Kevin said, the nonchalant attitude of the homeless gal interviewed is appalling. You've interviewed many more homeless people with greater concern for their situation and others. And we got this voicemail from Sam.
It doesn't surprise me. In the Lower East Side of Rocky Butte, I've talked to many campers, and asked them, why are you camping here? And the answer that I get is, I don't want to be part of your society. That's what I hear her saying. What do you do with that? I don't know.
Now, several of you say the city needs to be tougher on people who don't want help and aren't interested in being part of society.
I guess I would like Mayor Wilson to weigh in on what do you do with an Elizabeth? Because she doesn't want help. What do we do with her?
Anne wrote in saying, your interview with Elizabeth, the homeless woman, is a good example of why Mayor Wilson's plan to end homelessness by the end of the year will not work. Some of these people do not want to get off the street. But another viewer named Kevin said, we need to remember there's more going on here. He wrote, people love to hate on the homeless, and Elizabeth does not exactly engender sympathy to her predicament. But it's useful to remember that drug addiction is a mental health disorder and considered a disability. Treating people with drug use disorder as criminals is impractical and ineffective. It makes more sense fiscally and practically to provide supports and incentives for those people to seek recovery. That does not mean they should be allowed to elbow out other people's rights, but it does mean they should be treated humanely and with dignity. Send us your thoughts on this and any of the stories you see tonight. We love to hear from you. Email us at thestory@kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Okay, take a look at this. Someone spray painted messages targeted at Portland Mayor Keith Wilson on what will soon be the city's newest homeless shelter. The site on Northwest Northrop Street and 15th Avenue is set to open tomorrow. The graffiti was painted over by the time we got there this morning. It's unclear who's responsible for it, but some of it was on part of the building where other businesses operate out of, businesses that have nothing to do with the shelter. But unfortunately, neighbors tell me this really isn't all that surprising, given they've pushed back against this shelter opening all summer, holding several community meetings, some of which city officials have attended. But clearly, it hasn't stopped the city from moving forward with the site. Today, I caught up with the head of the Northwest District Association.
I think everybody wants a solution that works, you know. The concern is that we've lived through this for the last couple of years, and we understand this is going to concentrate the problem in a new way that's going to be devastating for this part of the neighborhood. We've already had businesses that have closed up shop.
Some of the graffiti messages that popped up over the weekend are directed at the mayor, saying, "Shame on you, mayor. You don't listen, no shelter." And mayor plus Vanessa equals ruined lives. Now, the building is owned by Vanessa Sturgeon of Sturgeon Development. The site is part of the mayor's plan to open 1,500 new beds by December 1st.
I think it expresses a growing discontentment where we voted for a guy, or a lot of people did, to kind of clean up the problem. And what we didn't understand is that he doesn't know the problem, which is a drug crisis. This idea is just going to make the whole problem worse. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows what's coming, and people are upset.
Now, we reached out to the mayor's office about this. They sent us a one-sentence response saying the mayor does not have a comment about the graffiti. We talked with a woman who's lived in the neighborhood for the past 10 years. She didn't want to be identified, but she saw the graffiti while she was at her gym right across the street.
I think someone's trying to send a message to the mayor, right? I mean, you know, I just, you know, I don't think we've been heard. We've been, you know, trying to send messages loud and clear to say this is not okay, this is not a solution, this is a waste of money. What I've heard, and I think what's most concerning to the community, is that it's placed near a lot of children. There's Montessori school nearby, there's a dance studio nearby. I understand there's a new school that's coming in the neighborhood. And, you know, it's just not the right environment to put in a homeless shelter.
Again, the shelter will open tomorrow, September 2nd. At first, there'll be about 40 beds. The city will then scale up to 100 beds by the end of the month. The site has the potential to reach 200 beds, and it'll be run by the Salvation Army and open from 8 at night to 6 in the morning. People staying there are guaranteed a bed for the following night. The city says it will remove tents and vehicles that set up around the shelter in an effort to prevent camps from spreading in that area. But neighbors, they're not convinced that will help.
This is like the Wild Wild West. I mean, we're warehousing people, and then what?
I think we've warned the administration that this is a bad idea, and I think for everybody involved, this building is going to be where dreams die and nightmares begin.
Well, still ahead on the story, 5 years ago, wildfires nearly destroyed entire towns along the Santiam Canyon, and thousands of people lost homes. Tonight, we're catching up with the couple who raised millions of dollars to help out their neighbors, even as they lost their own home. Their new beginning when the story returns. It was September of 2020, the height of the pandemic, when Oregon faced a historic crisis. Wildfires erupted across 11 counties, forcing evacuations. More than 40,000 people had to leave their homes. A state report later called it the most destructive sequence of wildfires in Oregon's history, burning more than 1.2 million acres, killing at least 9 people, and destroying over 5,000 homes and businesses. 5 years later, Christine Pitawanich revisits one family in the Santiam Canyon who lost nearly everything in the flames.
And it's all around us.
It is stark footage of just fire, just flames, seemingly all around this person.
This is what it looked like over Labor Day weekend in September of 2020.
It's the whole town of Gates right there.
Skies orange, and in some places like Staten, eerily red.
Multiple people said it seemed like we were on Mars. Earlier today, we spoke with a family, and
that family, the Sharons.
We just went back a little bit ago, and it is a war zone. I've never seen anything like it.
From Lyons to our house, 30 plus homes. Each side of the road is just homes that are lost and gone.
They took this video after the Beachy Creek fire leveled their home in Gates.
My God, this is our driveway. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, thank God we got out of here. Oh my God, it's our house.
The only thing that makes me feel good is my whole family's safe. We're fortunate. Yeah. Even though we lost everything, we're still more fortunate than most.
I agree.
Now, 5 years later.
Wow, yeah, that was crazy.
Cindy watches the video on the couch in her family's rebuilt home.
I haven't watched that video in a long time. Wow. It seemed like it wasn't that long ago, but where we're at now, yeah, we're very, very, very lucky. I still feel that way.
Yes.
Cindy's husband, Brian, is a contractor. They were able to rebuild their house in less than a year. The journey lined with hard work and difficult moments.
I think like so many people in the canyon, I think we've all gone through so many emotions of ups and downs and starts and finishes, and you're mad, you're sad, you're happy. You get through all of those points, and then you also get to a point where you're just tired of it all. You just want it all to go away, and you just want to move on. But I think we're all in a good place now.
This is our new beginning. Well, it is definitely a lot more spacious than our old one.
That's true, a lot more spacious.
Yep.
A new beginning.
Because our house used to be down lower.
With an unforgotten past.
We still can drive down the mountain, and you can see the vast area that was destroyed, and I guess all those feelings still come up.
Yeah, that didn't take long for you guys to start up that Santiam Canyon Wildfire Relief Fund.
That was her. She knows how to get things done.
We're just grateful to have the opportunity to share.
Cindy and her friend Dina Freris spearheaded an effort to raise money and help their neighbors just days after the fire roared through.
We were flooded with people contacting us.
And she says, I've got this idea, and I didn't know who to call, so I thought I'd call you.
It was responding to what was happening in the moment in a way that felt positive. It's like, well, Cindy said, I have this idea. What do you think about this? Well, I think that's great. And then that one phone call leads to another, and before you know it, 4 days later.
The fund raised almost $4.5 million and helped more than 1,200 families with the partnership of Santiam Hospital.
That many people cared enough about this community. That many people found a way to say yes. And I think that's what I am struck by over and over again.
She says they closed the Santiam Canyon Wildfire Relief Fund in June of 2024 after each dollar was allocated.
Rather than choose to feel like the fire made us lose everything as a community, what it really did was refine us and show just how resilient we are, and I'm so proud of that.
They say every year that passes feels better.
Yeah, and every year the scars go away more and more, or they're less seen. Yeah.
Every year you come back and it's like, okay, there's more green now. Now the flowers are coming back. Now the trees are starting to grow. I don't think we have any plans. We live day by day. We don't make any plans. We're thankful for what we have.
Thankful for their friends, family, and each other.
but I couldn't ask for a better partner.
Oh.
That's right.
What a powerful story. But when we come back, the effort to save a little newt that's only found in Crater Lake, what researchers say may be hurting its population, and how the Oregon Zoo is helping to bring it back. The Oregon Zoo is working to prevent a species of newt from going extinct. The Mazama newt can only be found in Crater Lake in south central Oregon. The zoo says this species of newt used to be the head honcho of Crater Lake. Now they can only be found in about 5% of the sites surveyed. Through a new conservation program, the zoo has captured and relocated 19 of the newts to its conservation lab. Conservation keeper Julia Lowe says the zoo worked hard to make sure their new environment matches their original as much as possible.
They've actually settled in very well. We haven't had any challenges. So we designed this lab to unnaturally mimic Crater Lake as much as possible. So our water chemistry is the same as Crater Lake. We received that information from years of water chemistries done at the lake. Our temperatures are the same, average temperatures as Crater Lake. We are offering these newts all kinds of food options for them they so far have not denied anything that we have offered them. So they're great little eaters.
A bit of history. The zoo said crayfish were deliberately introduced to the lake in 1915. Surveys have been done of Crater Lake for several decades. It was in 2008 that scientists saw a noticeable drop in newt populations and an increase in crayfish. By 2025, newts were only seen in 2 locations within 1,000 feet of each other. Everywhere else was crayfish.
They did studies at the lake in 2015 that did show that the crayfish are aggressive towards the newts and will predate them. In addition to that, they are eating the same food sources that the newts eat. So it's both. They're one, predating on the newts, and they're also eating their food source.
While the Mazama newt is not on the endangered species list, the zoo and its partners took it upon themselves to take action. Lowe says this is only the second time the newt has been in human care, but it's the first ever breeding effort. If successful, the offspring of the first 19 newts will be released back into the lake.
Because the Crater Lake is only accessible from like early July until the end of September, there's a lot of gaps in knowledge about these newts. So we believe from what we have based on the weights and the sizes that we receive that we have fairly young newts. From what we know, there's nothing known about their breeding time of year, their breeding age. But if we go off of a rough-skinned newt, which is they're the subspecies of, it's generally 4 to 5 years. So it could be a couple of years before we start to see signs of breeding.
Lowe says these newts are not available for public viewing at the moment, but the zoo is working on enclosures so people could see this rare amphibian up close. Well, Oregon Secretary of State Tobias Reed says the federal government is overstepping its bounds by demanding information about Oregon voters. 2 months ago, the U.S. Justice Department filed an official statement of interest into Oregon's voting system. They wanted to know what the Secretary of State's office is doing to keep ineligible voters off the voter rolls. More recently, the Justice Department asked for access to Oregon voter information again. But last week, Secretary Reed rejected that request.
The federal government is exceeding their authority in this regard. They're entitled to public records like anyone else, and if they want to fill out the form and pay the fee, we'll provide them that public record. But it does not include social security numbers, dates of birth, signatures, driver's license information.
You can watch the latest episode of Straight Talk tonight at 7. It's also available anytime on our free TV app, KGW+. Well, that's the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. If you ever miss an episode of The Story at 6:30, we re-air the episode at 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. on our TV app, KGW+. It'll also be there the next day at 11:30 a.m. And you can download that free app right now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. In the meantime, have a great Monday night. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 6:30.